Hello everybody, my name's Karl Lehmann from Dream It, Planet Live It, and we're on the latest Coffee with Karl interview, and I'm delighted to introduce you today to Alex Bayliss from the Mortgage Cube. So hello Alex.
Hi Carl, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you very much for asking. So Alex, tell us about your business. What is it you do? I'm guessing the Mortgage Cube kind of gives it away, but go on, tell
Yeah, a
us in
little
your own
bit.
words exactly what you do.
Yes, yeah. So we're whole of market mortgage and protection advisors. So we help people with all aspects of property finance. So mainly residential, buy-to-let mortgages, and then just arranging protection alongside that to make sure people are covered in their new homes.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why we've brought Alex onto the call and this interview series today is Alex is part of a little mini mastermind group that I run, and I really rate and admire Alex as a fellow financial professional. And obviously, in the world, in the current economic climate that we're living in at the moment, it can be quite challenging to get the right kind of advice for your lending requirements when you're buying houses. And God alone knows it's one of the most stressful times of your life, isn't it, when you're buying property. So Alex, my first question to you is, why would any prospective person watching this video, or indeed anybody, just want to use a broker versus somebody else on the high street?
Yeah, so I think the benefit of using a broker is, firstly, the obvious one is they can search the whole of the market. So instead of just going into your bank and being offered one set of products, you're searching the whole market and getting access to every bank, every deal that's out there. So you're getting the best available deal possible to you, which could potentially end up saving you thousands in the long run. The other aspect of it, I think, is just having a professional who's got expertise in understanding how each lender's mortgage application process works. If you go into a bank and speak to the advisor in the branch, they're working on behalf of the bank and they're making sure that the bank's risk is covered and that you're suitable for their mortgage. Whereas if you can speak to a broker, that broker's working on your behalf. They're going to look at the options that it benefits them to get the mortgage in place for you. They'll understand how they need to position an application with the lender, and it just, I think, gives you the best chance of getting your mortgage approved and getting the best deal that's available to you.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, the world, let's be fair, has changed dramatically over the years. I mean, I've been in financial planning now for 35 years myself. And when I first started out, I used to be licensed to do mortgages as well. But we were just talking, weren't we, before jumping on this call. I'm not licensed to do mortgages anymore. I haven't been for many, many years because, you know, the world of financial services is so broad now that, you know, you almost need to be, you know, well, you need to be a specialist in the area that you're in. So, you know, we don't do mortgages. We use people like you who are, you know, up to the minute, you're educated. And, you know, for me, it's about me focusing on my kind of wealth management strategies that we do with our clients. That keeps me busy enough. I don't know how these sort of IFAs out there can do the whole shooting match and actually sort of be fabulous at everything. I think that's a tall order in the current economic climate and the world we now live in. So we're coming out now of COVID. So we're recording this on the, I had to look that on my watch there. So this is the 13th of July, 2020. And we've just been through a very traumatic sort of period of time with the pandemic. Not least of all, the property market has changed dramatically, hasn't it, over the last 3 or 4 months? Tell us, Alex, what are the options now for people in terms of wanting to move? From a pragmatic point of view, can viewings take place now? And then secondly, if people find the sort of homes that they really want to sort of go for, what's the lender's sort of view on things now?
Yeah, so I think just on your point about financial advisors specialising in certain areas, I think that's so important, because if you're dealing with investments and pensions every day and you're doing one mortgage every month, every couple of months,
yeah,
stay up to date with lenders' criteria and how they're treating different applicants is just almost impossible. So you're better off specialising in a certain area and having good partnerships like we've got, where anyone who needs financial advice can come to you, and I can help with the mortgage side of things. With the current climate, yeah, things have changed drastically over the last few months. When the lockdown hit, lenders couldn't send surveyors out to properties at all. So you just saw the big banks overnight start saying, well, if we're going to lend against properties now, we have to value everything online. That's risk. That's a big risk for us. So we're going to want a 35, 40% deposit in the property. And that just wiped out a huge amount of people being able to apply for those mortgages. It's improved over time, and obviously now the lockdown's relaxed. Surveyors have been back out at properties since towards the end of May. So we're starting to see a lot of lenders at sort of 15-20% deposit now. But most lenders want at least 15% deposit. There's a couple of lenders that are dipping their toes in at the 10% deposit mortgage market, but it's very limited. It's really only HSBC that have stayed lending at 10% throughout the lockdown.
Right.
But getting an application in with them is very difficult because they only release a certain quota of products per day. So
Right.
you to get in the rat race at 8 a.m. every morning to try and get a product submitted. And I was on there this morning for an hour, and I was just watching a little circle spinning around saying, trying to find a product, and didn't get anywhere with it. So yeah, very tricky. But yeah, it's a bit strange because since estate agents and the lockdown, estate agents have opened, the lockdown measures have been relaxed, the property market has been booming, really. There's a huge amount of people out there wanting to buy and going ahead with purchases.
Right.
The first time buyer market, they're struggling because there's no 10% deposit mortgages available. So you've got people wanting to move and people trying to move, but then you've got the first time buyers who have worked hard to get their 5-10% deposit together, and maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago would have been able to buy, and now that deal that was available is not there anymore. So yeah, the market's changed a lot. I think from a lender's perspective, my discussions with them, they're sort of saying it's not a risk decision that they're not lending with a 10% deposit mortgage. It's just the resources. They can't process the number of applications because they're maybe not as well staffed in their offices due to the social distancing issues, and they're so busy with 15-20% deposit plus mortgages that they just aren't offering the 10% options there at the moment. But we've had some news today that Nationwide have started offering 10% deposit mortgages again from next Monday to first-time buyers only. So that's great news. So hopefully now some of the big banks will start to follow.
Well, that's an interesting point there, isn't it? Because I'm just thinking, excuse me for going into FCA sort of speak here, but, treating customers fairly, if you've got first-time buyers and they can't enter the marketplace, then that begs the question, what the heck are these lenders doing to actually sort of treat those customers fairly? Now, I appreciate, everybody's having to change the way in which they do business in what they call this now new norm. But the fact remains that, there are people out there who want to get on the property ladder. And let's be honest, if those people can't get on the first rung of the ladder, then ultimately the chain higher up stalls, right?
Yeah, and I think this was my sort of thoughts after the stamp duty announcement last week. It was great. Anyone buying sort of 250 to 500k are going to make a great saving, and that's going to encourage people to put their property on the market, make that decision to upsize this year rather than next year if they can, save that amount on the stamp duty. But then if the first time buyers can't buy their property because there's no 10% deposit mortgages available, then sort of is that just going to cause a problem there? So
what's the solution then, Alex, that being the case?
I think hopefully 10% deposit mortgages will start to become available over the next couple of months. I think first time buyers, there are other options that they just need to consider. I mean, the easiest one is just try and get the 15% deposit together by saving, but that's obviously going to take a little while longer. There's other things that can help. So have they got family members that can consider gifting some funds to them to increase that deposit size up to 15% if they're fortunate enough to have someone that can help. There are 1 or 2 lenders that will accept a loan as a source of deposit. So that's one that can potentially help as well. If someone's got good income but they just don't have the deposit there, then we may be able to look at that as a source of deposit. So it's just sort of looking at these other options to try and get that deposit size up at the moment. Or they just continue saving and hopefully later in the year more 10% deposit mortgages will be available.
I think you've just displayed there, Alex, just exactly the reason why you should be using a broker rather than trying to do all this stuff online yourself, or just going to the local bank, as it were, because it's that kind of inside knowledge, it's that expertise that you've just shared there in 2 minutes that, most people won't know. So we've covered off earlier the benefits of using a broker. But I guess my question would be, why you? Why should we use the mortgage cube? I know why, but you tell everybody one, and I'll inject my own sort of version of opinion on that.
So I think I'm an experienced broker. I've got good knowledge of the market and a good success rate on getting mortgages for people where maybe they've been turned away by another broker. There's a huge range of quality of advice out there, and I
Yeah.
think you'll find that you know the school with financial advisors as well, or financial advertisers as you call them. Um, you've got sort of some brokers that will look at the circumstances but not really have that good understanding of the lender's criteria.
Yeah.
And that's sort of something which comes into play. I sort of feel that I can just keep a lot of the criteria and knowledge in my head and look at someone's circumstances now and say, right, I know which lender is going to be able to do that. And as you sort of build up these relationships with the representatives of the lenders over time, there's things that you can do outside of criteria that other brokers maybe aren't aware of, but you've sort of learned that over time. And that's sort of really where I can come in and help. Got plenty of examples in the past where someone sort of come to me after seeing another broker saying, oh, we've been told we can lend 150,000. We've looked at everything in a slightly different way and maybe been able to up that to 180,000, 200,000 just by looking at it in a different way and approaching the lender in the right way.
Brilliant. I mean, I'll add on a little bit of meat to the bones there, because you've done work for some of our clients, and the feedback that I've had regarding Alex's work has always been amazing. Number one, people say that you're very easy to talk to, and I think with any trusted advisor, that's really, really key and important to be able to build up that relationship and sort of feel that you're with a trusted person. Secondly, you know, you finish everything you start. You know, you deliver on your promises, as I would call it within our practice. You know, we're big on that. So to actually work with other like-minded professionals that kind of do that. And, you know, most people have said to me, I like Alex because he just breaks it down into plain English, you know, because let's face it, the world of financial services is full of so much jargon, so much, you know, information that we are obliged to give clients these days. And I might be being a bit contentious when I say this, but actually, my sense is, after being, you know, a qualified financial professional now for 35 years, is people don't want more information. They actually want less information from a source that they can trust. And I, for one, as somebody who's a chartered wealth manager, certified financial planner, can say that I absolutely trust Alex working with us and our clients. So anybody watching this video, I absolutely endorse Alex. He's a great guy. He's got a wicked sense of humor as well, which just, you know, you need that sometimes in our world, don't you, Alex?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think especially in the house buying process, when people are dealing with estate agents, solicitors, advisors, they want someone they can trust and just someone that they can easily talk to. And that's sort of what I try and do to people, is try and get down onto their level and just make sure they're understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think it's also about efficiency as well. Usually the most worrying part of the house buying process is, can we get our mortgage approved? And it's just about processing that application as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and just take the stress out of the process for the client, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a couple of things jotted down here. I mean, first time buyers was one issue that I had niggling at the back of my mind, not least of which because I've got two kids who are in their early 20s, so they've got one eye on the property door. The second thing is, you know, as somebody who's been a self-employed professional all my life, you know, the self-employed, it's fair to say, over the years have had a real hard time when it comes to getting lending from lenders. I mean, I'm talking back, you know, probably, you know, sort of, you know, 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago. That, yes, that's really how old I am. But, you know, the fact of the matter here is here. So what are the options these days for self-employed individuals? Is it still like the olden days, or, you know, are lenders much more kind of savvy about things these days, more reasonable, shall we say?
Yeah, well, I think in the past you had the self-certified mortgages. It's true to say that they're not around anymore, unfortunately. But, so you've got to be able to show your income. And self-employed, it's all about profit. Turnover doesn't matter. It's about what you're declaring as your profit each year after you've offset your expenses. But there's such a variety of way of looking at things. I mean, there's a bit of a myth that it's actually harder for self-employed people to get a mortgage typically. And I usually flip that around and say, well, I think it's actually easier to get a mortgage with the right planning in place. So if you know what sort of property you want to get to, we can look at it and say, well, this is what your income needs to be. How are we going to get you there? Whereas if you're employed on a 40k salary, to say that we need to show 60k next year, well, you better be getting a good promotion or a new job to be able to do that. Whereas if you're self-employed and you're running your own business, you can set yourself those targets and get yourself there.
Yeah.
So I think you're a lot more in control of it. Lenders look at it in a lot of different ways. Some will average your last couple of years' books. There's lenders that will work off 1 year self-employed. There's some cases I've done where someone hasn't even been self-employed for a year. They haven't even got their first set of books, and we've been able to get the mortgage because they've got experience in that industry. It has become a bit more challenging since coronavirus has hit though. So because with self-employed income, we're always looking back at numbers. We're looking at last year's books. So sort of lenders will typically work off April 2019's figures, which is for 2018 to 2019's turnover and profit. So they're looking quite far back. And now since coronavirus has hit and a lockdown, lenders really want to understand what's happened to that business during the lockdown, and is that business still trading at the same levels, or are they back trading at the same levels? So there's a lot more of a manual underwriting approach coming into play now. Before the lockdown, it was sort of, here's the books, these are the figures, and with a good reference from the accountant, that's what they would work from. But now they're sort of getting a lot more into bank statements, what's happened with the business during the lockdown, are you back in business? And that's where a broker can really come in and help as well. I think if you go and sit with someone in the bank, you may get your mortgage approved, but you're really not exploring all the options that are out there, using the experience of a decent broker who knows how lenders are going to look at self-employed income and which ones are going to be more flexible to their business. Really helps. I mean, a lot of the stuff I'm doing with self-employed people is really getting a good understanding of their business and their thoughts on it. And then I'm taking that story and painting the picture for the lender and for the underwriter in the most favourable way to try and get that mortgage approved. That's what we need to be doing now. Really, is there's a lot more of a human manual underwriting approach to these self-employed cases. So you just need to be working with an experienced broker who can find the right lender for your circumstances.
Okay, cool. So what does an ideal client look like to you, Alex? Is there such a thing?
So anyone looking to buy a property, really, I'm happy to help. I love helping self-employed people. I like the challenge of sort of solving that puzzle, because there's the variety with someone who's employed on a salary. It's very straightforward. Every lender's going to look at it in the same way. They'll lend different amounts, but they'll look at it in a similar way. With self-employed business owners, limited company directors, there's a variety of ways that lenders look at it, and it's sort of a bit of a puzzle to solve, and I enjoy helping solve that puzzle. And sometimes it's a long game, we've got a plan for 12, 18 months down the line, but just working with those business owners to get those figures up to where we need them to be, and then finally getting them through to that dream home if that's what they're buying. They're the sort of people that I love working with. Young families as well, who may be looking to upsize and get to that dream home after they've had their first property, sort of similar to me, wife and 2 kids, and sort of just looking to make that next move. I love working with those people as well, just because I can relate to them quite well, because they're similar circumstances to myself.
Yeah, I guess your business is very much like mine. I mean, as a proper financial planner, we talked about financial advertisers earlier on, didn't we?
Yeah.
Those are the sort of people that are just focused on selling products, and they're actually sort of missing the point. And the Dream It, Plan It, Live It philosophy is all about helping people live the lives that they want without fear of running out of money. But one of the things that I wrote down here was geography. So I'm guessing you and I are talking on Zoom today. Would I be right in saying that you can pretty much work with anybody around the country now, bearing in mind this kind of new way of working?
Yeah. So I do a lot of work face to face, but also do plenty of stuff over the phone as well, and help people all over the UK. Zoom is such a brilliant tool for providing advice. I think a telephone call, it's fine if the customer's got a good understanding of the figures and the process, but sometimes you just want to be able to sit down and show them some figures on a piece of paper, or show them something in front of them. And with Zoom, where you can record the conversation, you can share the screen, and you can say, right, here's the numbers, this is how it's working, and you can almost sort of replicate that face-to-face approach. And the recording of the appointment, I think, is a great feature, because you can just send that over afterwards. And if ever they're sort of racking their brains later on at night thinking, what was it that Alex said again? They can look back and they can step through it, and they've sort of got it all there. So yeah, Zoom's been brilliant, especially during the lockdown. Sort of start using that technology, and they're definitely using it moving forward a lot.
Yeah, for us it's been amazing. I mean, we've had that many referrals throughout the sort of past 3 months, really, and you know, you and I both based down here in South Devon, but you know, I've had clients referred to me in London, clients referred to me in Yorkshire. A new accountancy firm in Yorkshire actually engaged our services to be, you know, a provider of their financial planning services for their clients. A new client in North Wales, one right on the tip of Scotland as well. So it just goes to show these days that actually, you know, out of adversity comes opportunity. And here we are with this new way of working. Obviously, there's some compliance things that we need to tick along the way to make sure that we can verify the people that they are who they say they are, right?
I think lenders have started adapting to that. They'll say that if you've seen them on a video call, and then you can certify the ID, where before they...
Is that the case?
Yeah, some of them.
I didn't know that.
Saying that, yeah, if you've seen them on a video call and you can verify that against the driving license, then we're happy to accept it. So
wow, okay. I shall be speaking to our compliance team on that then. So how is it best for people to connect with you? So if people are sitting here today thinking, do you know what, you know, I want to buy a property, or I want to go up my market, you know, in terms of like trading up the market, and they like the sound of your voice and think, do you know what, there's a guy there who seems like he's got, you know, half an ounce of brain between his ears. How, Alex, would they connect with you? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so just either have a look on Facebook for the Mortgage Cube, and look at our business page, or just connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn just as Alex Bayliss, not as the Mortgage Cube. Connect on there and send me a message, and sort of happy to have a chat. And you know, whether it's something that's due to happen this year, next year, in a couple of years' time, it's all about just planning. And yeah, let's just have a chat and plan to get you to where you want to be.
Brilliant. Okay. Is there anything else that you think we should be covering off at all, Alex?
No, I think we've covered it, Carl, to be honest. Yeah, I think we've covered the main points. Yeah, it's all good.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for jumping on the call today and sharing your time with us. Just to reiterate that, you know, we trust Alex implicitly. He's done work with our clients. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable at what he does. You know, he's not trying to dabble in stuff that he doesn't know about. He's an expert in his field. You know, people watching this call might think, well, why do you have a mortgage broker and a financial planner working together? Well, it's because, you know, my area is, you know, wealth management, tax planning, and, you know, actually helping people construct a financial life plan. And then, you know, one of the biggest financial components of your financial life plan is the mortgage, isn't it? Right? It's your debts. It's about managing that debt well, and that's where Alex comes in. He can really help you in that regard. So yeah, so thanks very much for joining us on the call today, Alex. So Alex Bayliss from the Mortgage Cube, and my name is Karl Lehmann from Dream It, Plan It, Live It. If you like this video, please like below, comment or share, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. So all the best. Cheers for now.